put that lowest rate out there that we possibly can, but we don't want to get bitten on the other side of that equation when it comes out it's not accurate. It's a delicate balance between I want the clicks, I want the volume, but I also want it to be right. And trying to balance that goes both ways. While we're on here, actually, let's also look at, so here's my Hilton Antelope Dallas and my Reunion Resort in Kissimmee. So these two were lower than, these two examples, the opposite way, again, coming up higher than. So, again, making sure that we have that accurate information. How can we control that? How can we manage that? That was one of the questions that we started thinking about as we started looking at the fact that, hey, we've got all these rates availability. We know what the rate is because we have that data in our system. We know what rates are available because we have that data in our system. We don't know which dates you're searching for, or at least we don't. When I say we, I mean Derbysoft. However, there are people that do. This stat comes from Facebook, by the way. People are spending more time on mobile. We talked about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about meta search, but now thinking about it just from a general perspective, 3 hours per day on mobile and 54% of that time is spent in apps. Think about what type of impact that has for the consumer and how that impacts what you're doing with the consumer and your exposure to that. Facebook started realizing this. Facebook said, hey, we can take advantage of that. And so that's why you've seen the launch of Facebook DAT, Digital Ads for Travel. This came out early last year, and they really did a great job of thinking ahead a little bit. Because, first of all, as I was saying earlier, I don't know what dates you're searching for. They do. Because that's what they're good at. Right? They know that you go to Key West every spring and like to have that annual vacation on the beach. They know that you were interested in coming to New York in February and going to a conference. They know things about you. And so because of that, they can narrow that down just a little bit and have better ideas to what you're looking for. And so early on, we saw that Marriott was one of the first adapters, IHG was the first adapter, and we saw these companies coming in that were taking advantage of that. Now, what is Facebook Digital Ads for Travel? Now, I normally don't like putting text up on a slide like this, but this is one of those exceptions because I don't think I can describe it any better than what they do. Dynamic Ads for Travel is a feed-based product conceptually similar to dynamic product ads, but specifically designed for travel brands, allowing hotel advertisers to serve their entire inventory at scale. Inventory is shown based on user engagement with specific hotels equated is dynamically populated in an ad template with the relevant image, URL, and select information including name, price, and brand. Additionally, advertisers can dynamically create audiences to retarget or find lookalikes based on dates or locations searched. Think about everything we just talked about there. So we know dates, locations, price, brand, name, URL, all of this stuff that Facebook knows. Little creepy? Maybe. Is it useful? Very. But there's a huge missing element on this. And again, that's that whole price point, that whole rates and availability, and how does that come into play? Now, we know that Facebook DAT is effective. This comes from Facebook. I made sure I gave credit to them. But they did a campaign with IHG, and the results of that they found were that they were booking more rooms for less. Lower cost, greater scale. They had a 20% lower cost per booking with dynamic ads for travel versus the product ads. And they had a 50% increase in scale with dynamic ads for travel. Think about that across a chain the size of IHG. That is huge. That's a lot of impact they're seeing off of that. So we know that this works. We know it has an impact. But we also know that search is not a natural point of entry on mobile. You don't go into your mobile phone on something like a Facebook and enter in dates. We talked about that earlier. So again, they have in apps, people just expect you to know about these. They know about you. They know where you are. They know your history. They know that information. And that has moved from that creepy factor to the expected factor, where we expect them to have this information and to serve us up content based on that. So that allows you to reach the right travelers at the right time. So you can look at this within their booking window, based on the number of travelers, based on their exact travel dates, and also excluding people whose travel dates have passed. Now, why am I showing all this stuff about Facebook DAT? I'm not here as a representative of Facebook by any means, but it serves as an excellent example of what the power is of programmatic advertising and retargeting, remarketing, and how that can be used to influence travelers. But again, we're missing that key element. We want people that have expressed intent. They can choose a type of hotel off of here. They can choose the dates. And then we have to deliver that pricing, dates, availability, and all that type of information. So that's where we thought, you know what, here's where we can come in. And we were very excited actually to have this press release that came out last December talking about exactly that. Derbysoft provides dynamic data for Facebook dynamic ads for travel. So we are now able to take that rates and availability, take that information and feed it to Facebook so that they have real-time rates and availability, because they know all that information about you. They just need to pair that up with what does this equal? What does this mean in terms of the rates and availability that we should have for your hotel? And they can give more relevant results for you. Okay, but dynamic data marketing isn't just about rates from $109. Dynamic data marketing means much more than that. You can have call-outs, 2 rooms left, save $5 per night, 5,000 bonus points recommended, the picture that you have there, even your hotel logo, although hopefully that's not changing too frequently. But you can have all that information that can be dynamic. All of that is content that you can customize for various ads that are out there. And why wouldn't you want to be able to use that to have select messages for select users and recipients and to have those results? Okay, so how do we do that? Now, this isn't meant to be a training on our system by any means, but I just want to give you a little bit of an insight as to how we accomplish this. First of all, we have this thing that's called our real-time feed management. It is simply a platform, a dashboard that you're able to go into and set up your different channels. We connect with them with an XML feed and provide them rates of availability based on a number of parameters that you have established. But one in particular that is so very important is the ability to qualify what from means. This little part right here. So we saw earlier that there were rates from, say, $199. What qualifies, what defines that from rate? Well, again, because we have the available rates in inventory, we have the ability to shop those rates in inventory. And we can say, for example, that this rate must occur at least 10% within the next 90 days. By the way, there's a significance to that number. If you're working with European hotels, they are actually legally required to have a minimum of 10% availability within the time frame. But it doesn't have to be just 10%. 10% is great. You've got that one low rate that pops up there at one time out of 90 days, and it looks really great on the ad. They click through, they get the traffic. But we saw those examples of where the rate then wasn't quite as accurate as we would have liked it to have been. So by way of comparison, I could also say that, you know what, I want this rate to be available 80% of the time. And we can shop that rates and availability then to know what rate is going to come up 80% of the time. Yes, I might sacrifice a little bit of traffic in doing that, but yes, I'm also going to get better results off of that. And so we built a system that's able to help you accommodate those needs and then adjust what you're feeding out to those different channels, getting better results. Okay, but let's not stop there. What's next? Real-time data needs our real-time digital marketing needs real-time data. Keep thinking about that. Think about it a little more. There's this little thing called WeChat. Everybody familiar with it? If you're not familiar with it, you're going to want to become familiar with it. What is WeChat? Well, imagine for just a moment if Amazon, Twitter, and Facebook had a little love affair, a little menage a trois, and they all got together and they had a baby. That baby would be WeChat. Why do I say that? It's because it's got the commerce factor of Amazon, it's got the messaging factor of Twitter, and it's got the social factor of Facebook, all combined together into one platform. You can buy things on it, you can order services, you can book travel on it. There's a lot of things that you can do with it. Why is that important? Because there are 768 million people a day logged into this thing. This is not small potatoes. There's a lot of people that are using it, particularly when you're talking about the Chinese traveler. We all like to talk about the Chinese traveler. We want to attract that Chinese business. This is how the Chinese traveler is interfacing with the rest of the world. And not just a little bit. When we talk about their travel preferences, the top holiday destinations abroad by Chinese traveler, USA, more than double the second one, which was Taiwan. So they're definitely paying attention to this. This is definitely an important role for that. Gateway to 150 million Chinese outbound travelers. Why does it matter? Because we can take that rates and availability, and we're developing that interface so that we can have CRS integration, as well as with our own DS1 platform, have our own booking engine, plugging that information in there. So again, we've got that available rates and inventory that we can plug in and get you that traffic. So we see that as being the next big thing in terms of the digital marketing landscape, being able to track that Chinese traveler. I'm not done yet. The road ahead. Once again, real-time digital marketing needs real-time data. That's going to get ever so complex. Exponentially so. And I'm not kidding when I say that. Why? Because of one really big thing that we see happening right now. The rise of virtual assistants. What happens when your cost per click is no longer measured by a click? People will stop clicking. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to take a few months to happen. But it will happen. I can go onto my iPhone and I can say, hey Siri, show me hotels in Times Square. And Siri will feed up hotels in Times Square. Virtual assistants now are taking over that role that we previously did with a desktop on a keyboard. Then it switched to an iPhone with my thumb. Now I just say, hey, book me a room at Marriott. And it does it for me. But there's a problem with that, because now how does that change the way that we work with our available rates and inventory and with that data that we have out there? Now all of a sudden, we have to have an omnipresence out there in the universe of virtual assistants and data. This is what we vision as being the road ahead for that. It's what we call a global distribution network. Now, I want to qualify this for just a moment, because I want everybody to come away and remembering this phrase and this terminology of global distribution network. And I'd be glad if you say you heard it here first. But I'm also going to tell you, this is not owned by anybody. This is not a Derbysoft product. This is like saying the internet is owned by Al Gore. It's not. The global distribution network is the internet. But it's the internet for available rates and inventory and content. There will come a time where your content has to be omnipresent, has to be everywhere at once. We hope we can facilitate that. And with that, I thank you for your time here today. Do you have any questions for me?
What about Facebook Messenger? There's development there. It seems like that's another big channel.